Get loose with it, gon' get loose. 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 Okay, first off, let's get this thing started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Catering Domination Podcast. Move this next guest to headlining status for the week. It's been a week of regional brands, and another regional brand that I love that's here in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're fortunate enough to have them. Can't tell you who that is, but you'll find out in a second. Before I do that, let's introduce my co-host here, Sam Stanovich. Sam, how are you?
Hey, good morning, TJ. It's always great to be back with you. I'm super excited. We just are unveiling a guest list of guest lists here who are just dominating locally. They may be flying under the radar nationally, but this gentleman that we have is maybe has the best view out of his office, and he's definitely riding the catering mountaintops right now. So without further ado, I want to introduce our special guest and friend of Catering Domination, Allen Beck, to the show. Welcome, Allen.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, Tim TJ. Great to be here.
Allen, we appreciate you joining the Domination cast. Thanks to Lunchbox for letting us get back into the wheelhouse and letting us two sandwich slingers talk about slinging more stuff. God only knows what people are saying we're slinging right now, but it's all good. And,
there you go.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story? Like, how did you get to Costa Vida? And then how did you get into really focusing on catering?
I'd love to get into that. So I came to Costa Vida through kind of a weird way. I was in the sales world as an account executive and BDR for a long time. And I was really just kind of done starting my career over again every few years because, comp plans change and you don't like it, so you got to change jobs, et cetera, things of that nature. And so I came to Costa Vida because one of our CEOs, we have co-CEOs, Dave Rudder and Sean Collins. Sean Collins was my ecclesiastical leader growing up. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, I just had a really good quarter. I understand it's going to be a significant pay cut moving out of sales, but I'm ready to find something that I am passionate about and that I want to make a career out of it. Rather than having a job. And so Sean found a home for me in our Spanish Fork, Utah, Costa Vida as an assistant manager at a whopping $40,000 a year salary. So I did that and was quickly promoted to general manager just a few months later. And then about a year after that, I was promoted to district manager. And then found out that I really had this kind of like this niche. I was really good at executing and drumming up caterings and growing business. And so the company put me as the catering operations manager over the brand, just trying to test it out and see what happens. Couldn't have came at a better time. I got promoted to that job in December of 2019, and we all know what happened 3 months later. So I really thought I was going to be without a job quickly as the world fell apart in March of 2020. And then stuck to it, put my nose down, and kind of revamped our catering program. And here we are coming 4 years post-COVID now, 10% of sales and growing. It's going to be awesome.
Well, that's great. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I live in Dallas-Fort Worth, so we've got a Costa Vida in Flower Mound and Colleyville. I think there's a couple other locations here, but those are the two kind of closest to me. For those of our listeners out there that are not familiar with Costa Vida, one, you're obviously based in Utah with that beautiful background right there, but kind of give us where you are, kind of what you're known for, and then we'll kind of dive into the catering after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. We're a fresh Mexican concept. I always say we don't do Mexican food the easy way. We do Mexican food the right way. So we're a made from scratch kitchen. Every morning we make all of our salsas, proteins, everything's fresh every day. Tortillas are fresh, only have a 15-minute shelf life. So food cost is ride that line perfectly as best we can. We're in 17 states, I believe. I'm sure marketing's going to critique this at the end. No, it's actually 18 or whatever. And we're also in Canada. We're focused more in the Pioneer Corridor. So the majority of our stores are located in Idaho, Utah, and Texas are where the majority of our stores are at. Started in 2003. Kenny Prestwich was our founder. And then in 2005, he sold the company to Sean Collins and Dave Rudder, who are CEOs today. A private company. It's been awesome. It's been a journey.
Well, great. How many locations do you guys have total at ballpark?
We're at 94 locations currently with 6 under construction, 2 scheduled to open in December. So we'll be at 96. Hopefully end of January, we'll be up over that century mark.
Awesome. Congrats. It's again, I love the brand, great food, great concept. And, it's hopefully more Costa Vidas will be out there. And I guess maybe Sam, see if you can uncover some of those catering secrets that'll help even Costa Vida grow some more sales so we can get some more locations around the U.S.
Well, I mean, what we heard from the brand yesterday, who had what, six-figure catering going on
Yeah.
in one day, was incredible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she really set the bar at a whole nother level of what can happen. But with you, getting to 10% catering, well done. I mean, most brands, roll those low single digits. What was it, and how did you really get the train out of the yard for Costa Vida on catering?
Yeah. So very first thing, shout out to operations. Like I can develop the strategy. We can figure out what we want to do, what we want to offer, but really it comes down to operations and their excellence and their execution. That's so first off, shout out to my operations team. They're absolutely outstanding to work with. Love them. Have great relationships with the leadership over in ops. And that's really where it starts. That's where we started. So with COVID hitting, it allowed us to take a step back and really evaluate our entire catering strategy and our entire catering program. Wanted to make sure, are we offering the right things? Are we playing in the right verticals where we play well at, right? We're a Mexican concept with burritos, salads, and tacos that are super, super good. I love that TJ goes to our Flower Mound and Colleyville locations. Sam, we don't have any in Chicago or Tampa. I'm sorry, but we'll get there. But it's, it tends to be a messier food to eat. So it might work well in like a school banquet or at a school, high school football game or something like that. But maybe we don't play well in like a really intimate wedding. So really establishing, we wanted to make sure that we knew where we wanted to play at and what verticals we wanted to play in and where we wanted to dominate at and really double down in those areas. One of the things that we really wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that whatever strategy or program that we offered, that it really focused around and was very operational driven so that we could operate with excellence and operate as efficiently as possible. Because it's one thing to be like, hey, I ordered on your app and I came in and it was 5 minutes late. That's one meal. But if you're 5 minutes late on a catering, that's normally 20 plus meals. That's 20 plus people that you've now pissed off. So we wanted to make sure that we were operationally excellent, efficient, and we were driving what presented our brand in the best. And so that's what we really focused on and what we've rolled out. And really because of that, just the organic word of mouth growth has really helped because people know that they can depend on us. We're reliable, that we're not going to be late, and that we're going to execute very efficiently and highly.
So I love your website for catering, and I see a lot of people's where it gets directed to. It's obviously kind of a white labeled site for somebody else, but looking at how you guys have kind of simplified the things with like order for 20 plus, and I will go back to kind of the office and the wedding thing. It's great because if the groom's up there and he's like, well, this Baja red sauce is a little better than the roasted green chili.
Yeah.
I think that can kind of help your brand a little bit. So, you can do a little advertising and selling. But one of the things I was curious about from an operator standpoint is when you go to your catering website, it kind of starts at 20 people. Is there a reason and a rationale for that? Because that's a little bit different than a lot of minimums that other brands may have out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The rationale behind that is it really came down to the portions. And so what we found is that if Sam or TJ orders a catering for 15 people and we go and deliver it, the perception that you got is like, is this it? And so what we found is we give 4 ounces of protein per person. So at 15 people, you're only going to get like 2 pounds of protein. Well, that in the bottom of the half pan, it's not going to have a very good perception. So what we really built it off of, because in this industry, perception is reality, right? And so we wanted to make sure not only was the food of good quality, but then the perception that you receive as the consumer, that you feel like you're getting your money's worth what you're paying. When you're paying $13 a person for a catering and you get 2 pounds of meat in the bottom of a half pan, you're like, this is bullcrap. So we wanted to make sure when we did that it all kind of came around that way, that we're the ranch and the protein and the rice and the beans and et cetera all looked good and gave you the perception that you were looking for.
Because you're right. People eat with their eyes, right? I mean, that's how it starts the meal. So you have to deliver that beautiful product. And to your point, if you're billing and pricing accordingly, by having that extra, it's not hurting the P&L statement, but it's increasing that loyalty that you talk about, that repeat business. Take one more step back, because you've gone through a hard time. We all have, through COVID.
Yep.
Now that you're at 96 restaurants, you're going to add 4 more. Each new restaurant that opens, it's a new market. What are some of those tips and tricks that you give to your new GM and ops partner in the field to go out to help drive those catering sales?
Absolutely. Love this question, because it kind of goes back to what we talked about a second ago, was what verticals do we want to play in? And that kind of gives you the secret sauce. If you know you perform well, your brand is good for the eat at work, the programs that where they bring in the lunches every day or whatever like that. When you're going into a new market, pretty simple. Go find the business parks. Go find the office buildings and start getting your food into their mouths and saying, hey, we're new to the area. We want to come and take care of you. This is what we'll do. You might run a promotion of your first catering order is free, so we can just get our foot in the door, whatever it may be. I'm not saying to do that, but it gives you the opportunity to know where you want and where you can be most successful at. If you're in an area where you know you do very well with schools, TJ, in your area, one of the things that we did is we were very, very good in the high schools with the athletic directors. And so we went and we found and said, hey, if we're this good with high schools, let's get a little bold. Let's go over to TCU or the other colleges and let's see what we can do there. And now we have a contract with TCU where we're feeding them almost 25, 30K a month just
Wow.
on TCU athletics. So, once you find where you play well at, then go and dominate, catering domination, in that vertical and see what happens. It's going to be amazing. You don't have to try and reinvent the wheel. It's like, hey, these are the people that are coming in. Also, not to get too deep into it, but ask the people in your dining room. They're already coming into your store. Like, hey, where do you work here locally? Do you live here locally? What's going on? What caused you to come into the store? Oh, our office is just down the street. Perfect. Hit up that office.
It was funny, Sam. One of the common things we've heard literally from our first guests is just own the lane that you're really good at. I think a lot of people kind of go out there with these shotgun blasts and try and hit everybody and get everybody, and they struggle with it. And, I think that's one of the nuggets that I really take out of all of our guests here from the catering domination piece. And I love kind of the school piece has been one of the common things that we've heard. I think one of the things that I would say, we've heard a lot about operations teams as well. And, when I used to own the Which sandwich shops, to Alan's point, one of the things we did was we made a video called Every Guest is an Opportunity. And if you've seen kind of the Chick-fil-A, every guest has a story, tear jerker, that was my inspiration, one, to make a more positive video than that, because they had a lot of sick and struggling guests. But we taught our operators to go out and look at the guests, use the clues. Oh, you have a school logo on, or a company logo on, or a lanyard on. Talk to them, find out their story, and they're probably an opportunity. Somebody walks in with a Walmart distribution or an Amazon warehouse. They love your food. They're here. This is, as Sam says, fishing in a barrel. How has that worked, or have you guys done anything with it from a brand that operationally, to have your operators become the extended sales force for you in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is, we're a fast casual concept. And so what we try is we want to make sure that every table is touched by a manager. When the customers come through the line, they've gotten their burrito, their salad, tacos, enchiladas, whatever it may be, they sit down. We want to make sure that we have a manager touch every table to make sure, one, was everything up to your expectations? Are you satisfied? Is there anything that we can do better? Is there anything else that we can do for you? And then that gives, as you build that rapport and you have that there, now gives you the opportunity to open it up for further discussions. I remember as a general manager and operator myself, some of my best catering clients came from my dining room and just having a casual conversation and letting them know, hey, by the way, did you know that we offer catering? Because a lot of people, we get with our blinders on in our restaurants, and people don't know exactly what we offer. I'm going to be honest, up until I talked to Sam at the catering conference, I didn't know Big Chicken offered catering. So that was an eye-opening experience. And I'm in the industry. So your guests probably don't know you may or may not offer your full offering. So make sure that you have that discussion or have that conversation with them.
Sometimes it's just as simple as that, right? We forget because we're in the trenches so much to showcase what we really do and what we really do well. And catering, once you get that bug and people see it, I always say I would rather serve 100 guests through catering one time than 100 individual guests. But at the same token, when I do have those big groups, they are 100 potential new one-time guests as well. That's what people forget. It is a symbiosis between catering and dine-in and back and forth because you're owning the community. One question now that, again, as you scale and you get all these restaurants up, are you using technology, A, in your sales hunting, and B, to communicate with your teams in the field? Because, you're sitting in beautiful Utah and you got TCU and all these other great catering opportunities. How do you communicate all that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first off, the best way that we've seen that's worked is we actually have a sales force out there, boots on ground, owning these relationships. General managers and the managers in the store have so much going on in every concept out there, whether it be Big Chicken, Costa Vida, any of the crave-worthy brands, whoever it may be. These GMs are just trying, they got to manage their P&L. They got to make sure that their invoices are uploaded. They got so much going on. So having someone that's a great extrovert who loves talking with people, who's not afraid of rejection, to own your catering space is huge. And that's what we've developed. So the very first thing is yes, to answer the question, yes, we're using technology. Yes, we're using marketing campaigns and stuff to reach out. But the very first thing is having someone in either a region or stores that owns that piece of the pie. It's worked out well for us because if I were to turn around and say, hey, Mr. General Manager, here are these 10 caterings that you need to call and follow up on to make sure that, hey, were we on time? Was the food warm? Did they like it? Did we meet expectations? He's going to be like, kick rocks. I already have so much going on. So having someone either in the store or someone regionally that can handle that, we've seen exponential growth because of that. Had Renee in our Flower Mound store not gone over to TCU and met with the nutritionists and jumped through the necessary hoops to land the TCU agreement, it never would have happened. It really wouldn't have. The best marketing campaign, the best email blast, whatever out there, would have been nice. Maybe we would have got it. But had Renee not been knocking on doors physically on the TCU campus, we may not have ever gotten that contract. But then taking that now, giving the salespeople the technology necessary to now be successful, then it just even blows up even more. We use a CRM that helps us track clients and customers and whatnot. And we're able to put some notes in there, knowing like, hey, this customer likes chips and queso. When they order, throw in a chips and queso for the office manager. That goes a long way. So yes, we're using technology, but we're enhancing it by having boots on ground staff to really manage those relationships.
So I'm going to flip this around a little bit because we've talked about how catering is important from a marketing standpoint. When you think about a new market like Texas, and again, I'll just speak specifically. Costa Vida is right between two. I mean, they were literally halfway between two of another C brand Mexican food place, and those two are in good spots, better spots from a real estate perspective. But how important is catering to help you develop the brand as you get into newer markets?
It's huge. I'll be flat out and honest. If we didn't dominate the catering market like we do in Flower Mound, that store wouldn't open. So that's the difference between having a store open and not. If you have someone that can get in there, build relationships, and dominate the catering market because you may not be in the best real estate, I can't compete with that brand. I think they reported like $1 billion in Q3 or something like that in profits. I'm not going to be able to compete with that. It was unbelievable, right? That earnings call was unbelievable post Brian Nickel, right? And so I'm not going to be able to compete with that. But what I can compete is I know my people are better and I know my food's better. So I may not be able to get people into the store, but I'm going to take my food to them, and that's where I can dominate that market at. And I know that I'm dominating them in that area.
I think the lesson from a franchisee perspective, again, Sam was a franchisee, I was a franchisee. You see a lot of people complain that, oh, I picked a bad location, or this location's not doing well, or, I have to work too hard as a franchisee. Guess what? You're right. You can sit there. I always equate it to people when you're standing on an escalator. If the escalator breaks, I've seen a video where people are like, help, help, I'm stuck on an escalator. I'm like, yeah, no bleep. Start walking, kid. It's a staircase now. And
Yeah.
again, I think most of our listeners kind of bleed catering like we do, but that message, we hope to get that through to the operators. Because from an operations standpoint, it's a headache to do catering initially. And maybe you can just talk, because you all have a very aligned relationship with ops. Are there any pieces of advice you could give to our audience to kind of get a catering manager that's battling ops over that hurdle?
I think you answered the question right there. You got to have a catering manager that doesn't battle ops, but works together as a partnership. Now, is it going to be all roses and sunshine, as Zach Oates would say, all the time? No, it's not. But you got to be making positive deposits daily so that when you need to make a withdrawal, you don't go into the negative. And if all you're doing is withdrawing from the relationship, it's not going to last a long time. And so for me, my office is next door to my senior director of operations. The director of company operations is across the hall, and then the director of franchise relations is next to her office. Within 20 steps, I can visit everybody that owns the operations for our entire brand. And so having that great relationship with them helps out so much, because when I say, we just experienced this just yesterday, I'm going to use an example. We're with another college where we want to have, between timeouts, half times and stuff, we want to run a little promotional video on the board. I found the video, worked with marketing, got the video, and I'm like, this is a sweet video. It's dope. It kind of gets you excited. I send it over to ops and have them look at it, and they're like, hey, this is a great video, but we don't serve any of that food in the arena. Good call. Overlook on my part. I own it, right? So I could have had this awesome promotional video, got everybody excited, the 40,000 people, 60,000 people in the stadium, and then they go to the location in the arena and they go, we don't sell tacos. We sell burritos and fries. So now you're excited about this taco clip you just saw. We don't sell. So having that relationship, and then having that trickle down into the stores. The catering manager also needs to have that same relationship with the GM. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. GM, I want to go and run this promotion. I want to do this giveaway, all that. And the GM could be like, our P&L sucks right now. If we have any more discounts, we're going to go into the red. We can't do that. And that, the catering manager needs to have that relationship to be like, thank you for having my back. I appreciate it. I don't want to screw you over. Let's have that give and take relationship. So it has to trickle all the way down. It can't just be like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then ops figure it out. Like, if you have that relationship, good luck. It's not going to last very long.
You bring up some amazing points, and we always like to look at, as we close, knowing now what you should have known then. What do you tell your young franchisees or first-time franchisees on how to go be successful at catering to avoid some of the hurdles that you missed? What's that one nugget that you're like, you got to do this right out of the gate?
Build the relationships in the community. It's amazing. The franchisees and catering managers that we have that have relationships in the community. It could be the schools, it could be HOAs, it could be businesses, it could be the Chamber of Commerce's, whatever it may be. Those that have a relationship in the communities and are known in the communities. We sponsor this school event, we sponsor this organization, whatever it may be. Those are the ones that are just kicking some serious ass in catering. It is amazing. And those that are like, what do I need to do? Are the ones that stay inside their four walls and hope that something comes to them. If you want hope, go to church.
Yeah, prayer's not a strategy in the business world too often. It works for some, I get it, but typically it's the hustlers that are out there doing it. Well, Allen, just tons of nuggets of wisdom, and I love to talk to brands that I'm familiar with and get to experience all the day, because I could call BS on you guys, but it's not BS. I live it, I see it. I love the brand, and kudos to you and your team for doing that. When Sam and I wrap up, we pick 3 keys that we took away from this, and then we'll turn it over to you for any parting thoughts. So I'm going to take the easy route and go first this time because I can. I think so. For me, the 3 things were: one, get out there and do the legwork. And the TCU story, to do $25,000 a month, what an incredible investment of the time to get and a return on that investment. Secondly, I think partnering with ops, it's critical. And, I think the third one, because I'll leave some of the easier ones for Sam, is you've got to go out there and truly take ownership and accountability for your own success, especially as a franchisee or even as a catering manager. It's just not going to come in the front door automatically, although, hell, just look at the front door. There's a lot of people in there.
Amen.
So
Amen.
it's simple, but it's not easy. So those are my 3. Sam?
TJ always has to leave me 3 easy ones because I'm a little slower than him. But I think I'm going to get the T-shirt made for the next catering conference. It just says, "What is your vertical?" We hear this time and time again because it can't be everybody. It can't be all verticals. You got to pick whether it's going to be school and which in the school. Is it college, high school, grade school, junior high, and then who you're going after, right? Because there's too many. So what is your vertical? I'm going to just start asking that question all the time. I think we as a business, and for those entrepreneurs who are listening to this right now, hire a catering person. We don't say it enough. It's always an afterthought. And then successful brands like you come on the show, and the other ones that we've had, many of the top 30 that were listed in the catering world by Lunchbox. And thanks again to Lunchbox for sponsoring the 2 sandwich slingers here. But get that department person started sooner rather than later. It will be a return on your investment. Just like you hire your staffs when you go to open a new restaurant. And Allen, I'm sure your franchisees have to hire at least X amount of people. This should be in the equation. And Earl and I have been debating that lately. And how do we get that communicated? And at the catering conference we were at, they brought up a good point. There is no chief catering officer in the industry. And there are millions of dollars at stake. So I think that is very important. And then finally, let's just go old school. Let's get knocking on doors and being out in the community. Take them some chips and queso, give them a dessert. Just go meet people because nobody is talking to each other anymore. They think they all can do it through email. They think they can all do it through text. Go build a relationship because people buy from people they like. So I think that's where I'm coming out of this. And again, Allen, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us, looking at the beautiful mountains and thinking about how do we get up on that catering domination mountain that you have behind you. Final thoughts, Allen?
Yeah. So, I mean, the final thoughts that I would just add would be to echo both what Sam and TJ have talked about here. So very first thing is catering is an investment and it's not easy. So if you think it's easy and that I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to get it. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing $10,000 worth of catering every day. You're not. It's an investment. You got to go out there and you have to say, what do we want to accomplish? And know that when you hire that individual that Sam was just talking about, and when you go to buy the equipment so that you can execute operationally with excellence, that, yeah, you're going to have to be spending some money and you're going to be seeing the red on the P&L for a little bit. But if you hire the right people and you execute operationally with awesome excellence, it will pay off. But you have to go out and do it. And it's amazing. This isn't a paid sponsorship. A lot of the answers are in this book. Okay. I'm not joking. Sam and TJ gave me this book at the catering conference just a few weeks ago. I've read it. I've already got notes in there, highlights, and I really like the back logo with the pillars. I mean, the secrets are there. That's the answers right there. It's amazing to see. So, and again, I always do a selfish plug. If you have questions, if you have concerns, please reach out. I can be found on LinkedIn. I'm at most conferences. If you don't know who I am, I feel like I'm pretty approachable. I love to talk to people. I love to help people. Let's chat. Let's talk about it. Let's help this industry just dominate and just set ourselves apart from everybody else.
Well, I think what a great thought to end it. That's one of the things I really love about this industry is while we all compete, we are all out here cooperating to try and help everybody else because we want to be successful. And I know me personally, having been in this industry for 40 plus years, It just sickens me when I hear, oh, you're in the restaurant industry. When are you going to get a real job? There's a lot of real jobs out here, Scooter, in this industry. And I always tell people, if somebody's come out of the restaurant industry, they could probably do any other job there is out there because they're way the hell easier than what we all do each and every day. So I think just what a great way to use the resources around you. Hit us up on LinkedIn. Thanks for the plug for the book and those kind of things. We're here to help. We want everybody to share in the successes that we've learned and avoid the mistakes that we all had to go through and, get a little of that gray hair. So, Allen, thank you so much. To those of you all out there in the catering domination universe, what another great podcast. Allen shared so many tips and advice and things that you can do to help drive your catering business. So everybody, have a great day. Go get some catering sales, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
See you guys.